The episode you wrote, you won an Emmy. Is that about your own self?
Absolutely. You know, it was
Your coming out.
my coming out. And it's funny, I never thought I would want to write about that. I mean, it wasn't a traumatic experience. It was not easy, but I never thought it was that interesting. And so
How old were you when you came out?
I was in my early 20s. I was already living out here. It took me a while to come out to my mom. I was a little nervous about it. But yeah, when Alan asked me how I came out, I just started to tell them. And by the time I got back to my hotel, they were like, we think that's an episode. We think we want to focus on that. And I thought, okay. And then he's like, but you have to co-write it. He's like, because it's so specific to you. And I thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I said, because people already think I write on the show, even though I don't. And I'm really, you know, an actor for hire on this show, and I don't want to confuse people. But he's like, either you co-write it or we're not doing it. And then I was like, okay, well, I definitely think we should do it. So he convinced me, and I co-wrote it, and it was the best decision I ever made.
What was it like to win an Emmy?
I think it was a little out of body, you know. And
Surprising?
Well, here's the weird thing. I think there was a lot of love for the episode in the world and also in the community, because I could not go to an Emmy party / event without somebody coming up to me saying, you're gonna win, you're gonna win. and mind you, Cindy Shupak, who I'm a huge fan of, who wrote on Sex and the City and is now currently writing on a Showtime show called I'm Dying Up Here. I went to that premiere and she came and she saw me and she said, you're gonna win an Emmy for that episode. And that was like months before like anything had really happened. So it was a little like I felt the support of the industry and just the world. People were very excited about it.
Did it change your career?
You know, it changed the way I think people look at me. I think there's a thing that happens when you win an award. There's an automatic trust switch that goes on, where people go, oh, then we trust that you know what you're doing. Even though the day before that, you had the same amount of skills and knowledge that you do the day after you win an award. There's a thing where the industry sort of puts you on a list and you become a part of a very exclusive club. And my club, I'm aware, is even more exclusive because I'm aware that I was the first woman of color to ever win an Emmy for comedy writing. So I think there's this element of I have a place in history now, as well as I've left a stamp on the industry that can never be taken away. Coming out is something you never forget. Like that you remember where you were, you remember what you were eating.
Well, tell me, who did you come out to and where?
I came out, well, the big conversation for me was the one with my mom. And I think also because I came up in a single parent home, it wasn't like, oh, let me sit down with my mother and my father and the whole family.
Your father had left?
Yeah, you know, they divorced when I was 2. He kind of stopped coming around after I was 7. So and he passed away when I was 14. Oh. So there wasn't like, I didn't have that 2-parent, like,
Mother didn't remarry?
No, she didn't. She's still not remarried. So
how was it like to come out to her?
It was, you know, not the most fun conversation. I think because she's a woman who was born in 1953. She was born into a segregated America. And I think she kind of came up during a time where to be a good black person was to be one that didn't ruffle feathers.
Where was she born?
She was born in Chicago. But my grandmother was from Arkansas. She was a part of that sort of great migration of that thing of moving to the north.
So you had to think about how you were going to handle it, right?
Yeah, and a big part of it was to be in a public place, which is, again, we were in a diner, which we kind of recreated on the show. I think me being wanting to do it in a public place meant that she couldn't like physically grab me or do something that she would regret. But you know, but I knew she would be emotional, which she was. She was crying, she was upset, and I think she was just worried. I think there's an element of wanting your child to have the easiest life possible.
How old were you when you did this?
I think I was about, I had graduated in 06, so I was about like 21, 22.
Weren't we coming of age then?
I mean, the world can do what it wants, but a black mother, you know, who is a little conservative, you know, and I think, again, she came up during a time where there was this ideal way that you think of a successful life. And I think it means to be married, to have a house, to have maybe 2-car garage if you're lucky.
Watch new episodes of Larry King Now Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on demand on Aura TV and Hulu.